Hey everyone, thanks for checking in. If you received our last newsletter, then you already know that Regina and I are now living in Georgia. We're here to complete our staff training with John and Sarah Kreitzer. They're training us right here in this environment. We're working to reach soldiers at Fort Stewart and Hunt Army Airfield. And it's a lot of fun because I used to be stationed out at Stewart when I was a soldier back in the day. And it's just cool to be back in this environment and working with soldiers. I just want to fill you in on what we've been doing since we got here in January. It's only just a couple of months ago, and it's been pretty cool. Just getting to know the team here and seeing what God has been doing. Visiting some of the churches, getting to know the pastors, visiting the chapel on post, and getting to know the chaplain there and seeing what he's doing and hearing about his vision. It's a lot of stuff going on, and it's pretty cool. Regina's not here right now. She's out at a leaders she's out at a ladies retreat. They're just getting together, having some fellowship, a time of encouragement to just kind of get away from the busyness of life. And we actually had a leaders retreat last month when all of us kind of got together, went out for a weekend, and we were just there to talk about kind of some team building topics, ensuring that we have trust among each other, that we can work well together. And we talked about some of the things that are going on in the ministry and what are some plans for the future and how we're moving forward. And there's a lot of exciting stuff going on, and I'm looking forward to seeing what God will do in the coming months and years that we're here. Anyways, I want to share with you guys something really encouraging that I got from the Word. In just the first couple of weeks that we were here, God spoke to me through His Word. Now, first, let me share when I was a soldier here in my last year, I think it was maybe 2010 around there, was when I first really felt like God had called me to really commit myself to the ministry. And it was through 1 Chronicles 28:10, where He says, "Be careful now, for the Lord has chosen you to build a house for the sanctuary. Be strong and do it." And it was such an encouraging verse. For God to say, "I have chosen you to build a house." And I don't think He wasn't talking to me about a physical building. He was talking about His spiritual house, the people that God dwells in. And that's what He wanted me to be building up. And I've been on fire ever since. All I've wanted to do is work towards building up God's kingdom. And that's essentially what I've been doing. Now, coming here for the purpose of training and coming on to full-time staff so that we can really commit ourselves fully to this mission. I was reading in 2 Samuel 7:13. I'm sorry, I was reading in 1 Kings 6:12. That's what I was reading. This verse, it says, "Concerning this house that you are building, if you will walk in my statutes and obey my rules and keep all my commandments and walk in them, then I will establish my word with you, which I spoke to David your father." And I really like that because he says, concerning this house that you're building. And I'm in the process of building this spiritual house for sure. And he says he's going to confirm, he's going to establish the word that he spoke to David, his father. So I went back to see what was the word that God spoke to David. And I found that in 2 Samuel 7:13, and he tells him what he tells him about Solomon. He says, "He shall build a house for my name." So it was so encouraging because God, through 3 separate passages, has communicated the same thing, confirming His calling on our lives, that we're called to build up God's spiritual house. And I'm reminded of what Peter says in his letter. I have it written down here. He says, "You yourselves, like living stones, are being built up as a spiritual house to be a holy priesthood." It's just awesome. That's what we want to see. We want to see people built up into a spiritual house, a holy priesthood, who are able to live out a Christ-like life and help others to do the same. And we're working at that here at Fort Stewart, Hunt Army Airfield in the Savannah area, Hinesville, and it's just a lot of fun. And so we are believing and trusting that just as God provided David and Solomon for the resources and the people needed to build up His physical temple in the Old Testament, that God is going to do that for us. He's going to provide us the people, and He's going to provide us the resources that we need to make that happen, to complete the mission that He's called us to. So it's pretty encouraging. Now, taking Him at His word, we chose to leave Orlando and come here. We're currently living in John and Sarah Kreitzer's home. And so a lot of our stuff is in storage, and we're just living in a room here in their home, just learning from them, and just kind of this life on life environment. And we are learning a lot. I left my full-time job out there. I'm working a part-time job here, just delivering some mail. But ultimately, the goal is that I leave this part-time job as well, so that I can give myself fully to this work. Now, before that can happen, we have to raise about $6,500 in monthly support, and that's going to cover our living costs, ministry expenses, administrative costs, all these kind of things, and that's what that should cover. And I'll share more about that in our coming updates and stuff. And as I send out some emails or letters, you guys will hear more about that. But for now, please join us in praying for these two major things. Okay, we want laborers. We want God to send us the people that He wants us to be investing in and building them up towards maturity, so that they could be living stones and built up into a holy priesthood. And secondly, be praying for us that God would provide the resources, the funds needed, so that we can give ourselves fully to this work. Thanks for listening. Thanks for checking in. I'll be in contact. Message me if you didn't receive our last newsletter. I'm going to put a link in the description or somewhere, or you can find it on my Facebook, to our staff page, and there you can see a little archive of our newsletters. You can go back and check them out. All right. Hey, thanks everyone. See you around.